Welcome. Good morning.
Good morning. I don't know why it's showing up on my cousin's account. It might be it just got mixed up. Sorry.
No, no worries. Good morning.
It shows up as Natalia, right? Not Arlene.
No, it's just Natalia.
Let me try switching the accounts. I'll be right back.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Morning. Morning. Good morning, everybody. It's slow start. People are dribbling in today. I guess what happens midway through the semester, I guess. We're halfway. Woo! Almost done. On the flip side, as they say. We'll wait a couple more minutes as people start coming. Oh, here come a bunch more. Good morning, everybody. People are slow starting today. It's a yucky day outside. You'd be late for class. Okay. We got like 15 of us. We usually have about 20 something. Everybody getting ready for Halloween? Halloween. You guys dressing up? What are you going to be? Tell me what you're going to be.
I'm going to be Beetlejuice.
I just watched that on Broadway before the pandemic. It was amazing on Broadway. Anybody else? Nobody's going to dress up for Halloween. Don't break my heart. Go ahead. Tell us, Isaiah.
I'm going to be Tupac.
You're going to be what?
I said I'm going to be Tupac.
Tupac. It's a good one. You know what I'm going to be? I'm going to be a one-night stand, but I'm just wearing and looks like a nightstand, so I'm a one-night stand. Get it? I love Halloween. My friends and I were the Spice Girls about 3 years ago. I was baby, and we won like every costume contest because my best friend is a redhead that sort of looks like Ginger, and then we actually had a guy dress up as Scary Spice, and he did a damn good job. So it was fun. I love Halloween. I'm sad we're in a pandemic for Halloween, but I've got my candy chute outside, ready to put my candy in the chute. All right, we're like 19 people. I'll keep adding as people join because there's a lot in this chapter. This chapter is stress, lifestyle, and health. We're on week 8. We are halfway. We're actually on the flip side of it. So we are more than halfway there. You do not have a midterm test, but I already entered midterm grades. Midterm grades are either satisfactory, D, or F. That's how your midterm grades work. So if you have, a C or up, you got satisfactory. Though I have to say, I was very impressed because, you're doing on your papers, but you must be rocking your quizzes because the majority of you have A's and B's. So yay, very impressed. And really the people that ended up with there were very few, but the people that ended up with the lower grades, the D's or the F's on the midterm were people that have done like literally nothing. So the way that they set up this program for you guys is so that you do well, not that you don't do well. So just be aware, take a look at your grades. I think you're going to be pretty happy with where you stand grade wise. So very impressed. Something to just, before we jump into week 8, something that I just want to mention is the week 10 paper. Now, I don't want you to be like inundated. I don't know what else you have in 2 weeks from now, but I want you to look at week 10 now and have a couple weeks to build up to the paper that you have to write. Now, it's not that big of a paper, but it involves you getting a second Psych Infonet article. Oh, cat coming by, sorry. Psych Infonet article and doing like a second research worksheet and then making it into a paper. So if you start doing it now with 2 weeks, it won't be that big of a deal when it's due in 2 weeks. Life happens, so I think you should try and plan ahead so you're not inundated on that week. And the reason that I care is because this is a pretty big part of your grade. Again, not set up by me, set up by the psych department that is happening in every single intro to psych class. So it's weighted pretty heavily in your grade. So get started on that now if you can. And again, my last reminder is that not everybody is finishing every part of the discussion post. You are supposed to write your discussion post, then you're supposed to comment on 2 people's to other people's posts, and then you have to go back and write on your own post. You're supposed to respond to somebody who wrote on yours. If somebody didn't write on yours, then just expand on it or do something so that you have all of that done. I am now just going to start writing incomplete when you're not doing all the pieces. You're not getting all the points, and I'm just writing incomplete. I started for the last, 7 weeks writing, where's part 3? Where's part 2? Now I'm not. Now I'm tired, and it's just going to be incomplete, and you lose the points. So it's super easy. It's not hard. You text all day long. It's like texting. Just write back. That's all. Okay, questions about anything that I've talked about so far before we jump into the chapter? Okay, so this week is chapter 8. It's on stress, lifestyle, and health. Okay, so we're going to try some fun things. When I'm in the classroom, we try to play games and stuff. I will attempt games on here. We'll see how it goes. But this chapter is basically health psychology. So we're studying biological, which is what we think of as health, but then there's also psychological, which is health, and actually social factors do contribute to health. And we could say health and wellness or health and illness, however you want to think about that, because there's a lot of people that come from the positive side and say health and wellness, and there's people that come from the negative side that say health and illness, because if you're not healthy, it will lead to illness. It's a proven fact. So let me give you guys the definition of stress, because that's going to be basically, we're going to talk about physical health, but really this chapter is or starts on stress. That's hard to see. I won't use this marker anymore. Okay, stress is the response to perceived threats. Stress is the response to perceived threats or challenges. Response to perceived threats or challenges resulting from stimuli or events that cause strain. Response to perceived threats or challenges resulting from stimuli or events that cause strain. So we know there can be a physical reaction, a physiological reaction, or an emotional reaction. Here, I wrote it in spooky writing because it's Halloween. So here's your spooky writing. Stress. So stress is a response in a nutshell, right? So stress is the response to something. So stress is response to what causes that stress, and that thing that causes stress is called a stressor. We're not reinventing the wheel here. Stressors are what cause the stress, and it can be any kind of stressor. For you, it might be your dead cell phone. For somebody else, that could be your biggest stressor. For somebody else, it could be financial, or we have a big test coming up. It could be a test, or these little quizzes might be your stressors. It could be emotional. It could be something like you think, you don't know, but you think that your girlfriend or boyfriend is cheating on you. You have no proof, but just that thought in your head that your boyfriend or girlfriend is cheating on you is a stressor. Am I right? Definitely. So we're talking about things that are external that can cause stress and things that are internal that can cause stress. Sometimes you might be thinking about a conversation that you had earlier in the day, and you're like, oh my God, did I offend that person? Wait, how did I say that? Maybe that person's mad at me. I'm not sure. So it just could even be perceived. It might not even be true, but it can be perceived. So not all stress is concrete, is the point. It could be perceived. It could be different between people. Now, not all stress is bad. There is good stress. I won't write in speaky writing because it's hard to see, but good stress is called eustress. Eustress is good stress. Now you might think, what's good stress? Well, if you start a new job, you're happy about it. It's a good thing that you're starting the job, but it is stressful, right? It's like a happy thing, but it is stressful. So that's a good stress. What about getting married? That's a really good, happy day in your life. Is it stressful? Yeah. So, not all stress is bad, but it's still, no matter whether it's good stress or bad stress, it's still a stress on your body. So you have to understand that it can lead to physical and emotional and all that stuff.
Professor, excuse me, what
Yeah.
chapter is that? In
We're
which
on chapter 8, Evelyn.
8? 8? Oh, okay. This is human development?
What'd you say?
What? Oh my God, I don't know if I have the, okay, chapter 8. Okay, it's okay.
Okay. So, it is a proven fact, and using the correlational method, it has been proven that the more stress you have, the higher the stress, the higher the negative health outcome. Higher stress, higher negative health outcome. So we're talking about life events, good or bad, that are considered the stressors, and then it does equate to health outcomes. So let's see how stressed you guys are as students, okay? So we're going to do the student stress scale. So there are a few different social readjustment rating scales, SRRSs, and your book talks about, the scales. But I wanted to find a student one to see like how you guys are doing. So each event I'm going to tell you is given a score that represents the amount of readjustment a person has to make as a result of the change. Okay. Now, if you get higher than a 300 on the scale that I'm going to give you, you have a high health risk. Okay. Between the score of 150 and 300, you have a 50-50 chance of a health risk within 2 years. And if you do go below 150, you're pretty good. You have you've got a pretty good outlook for health. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you something that has happened. Well, let's use this semester as our time frame, okay? Since we're together for a semester. So everybody needs to have their paper and pen nearby, and you're going to write down the quantities if this has happened to you. So let's just use the first one, and this has to have happened within the semester, okay? So death of a close family member is 100 life change units. Okay. Now, if you have lost 2 close family members, then you would give yourself 200, not just 100. Okay. So if it happens in the semester, you're going to give yourself your life change unit. So the first one is Death of a close family member, which is 100. Death of a close friend, 73. Divorce between parents, 65. Going to jail, 63. Major personal injury or illness, 63. Marriage, 58. Remember, good stress is just as hard as bad stress. Marriage is 58 points. Being fired from a job, 50. Failing an important course, 47. Change in health of a family member, 45. Pregnancy, 45. Remember, this goes for guys too. Sex problems, 44. Serious argument with a close friend, 40. Change in financial status, 39. Change of major, 39. Trouble with parents, 38. New girl or boyfriend, 38. Increased workload at school, 37. Outstanding personal achievement, 36. If this is your first semester of college, 35. Change in living condition, 31. Serious argument with instructor, 30. Not me. Lower grades than expected, 29. Change in sleeping habits, 29. Change in social activities, 29. Everybody probably has to write that because our social activities stink. Change in eating habits, 28. Chronic car trouble, 26. Probably everybody will write this one. Change in number of family get-togethers, 26. You know, they should just change this whole thing because of the pandemic. Everybody gets a 5,000. Too many missed classes, 25. Change of college, 24. Dropping of more than one class, 23. Minor traffic violations, 20. All right, do your math. All right. People still doing math? Or are we okay? Give me a thumbs up if you're good. Okay, good. Okay, so if you had over 300, you have a high health risk. If you got 150 to 300, you have a 50-50 chance of a serious health change within 2 years. And if you did below 150, then you're pretty good. So how many people, you all are going to have to speak, so you might want to unmute. How many people got How many of you people got over 300? Let me know who you are.
I did.
I did.
I did.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot of you. That's at least 5 of you. Wait, how many people got between 150 and 300?
I did.
I did.
Me.
Which is about norm during a pandemic. I would say that during a pandemic, with life changes, that would be your norm. You might have fallen lower if it wasn't so many life changes. And how many people got under 150?
I did.
One person.
I did as well.
Oh, okay. They're all slow on the uptake. Okay, so we're about evenly split. Again, it's a pandemic and there's so many life changes going on that it's unprecedented is the word, right? We don't know. But just so you know, again, to reiterate, stressors equal negative health outcomes. So you have to learn to control that stress so that you don't get sick. That's coping mechanisms is the word. If you have coping mechanisms for these difficult stressors, then you won't get sick. That's the moral of the story. So let's talk about some of these stress disorders. The most common one that you've heard of is post-traumatic stress disorder, right? PTSD. And there's actually other or offshoots of PTSD, but I'm going to use the blanket one. And PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a psychological disorder. You've been exposed or threatened by an event and it reverberates in your life. So whether it is somebody passes away or dies, or you were put in a position of serious injury, or some sort of violence that occurred, you are going to have the stressor. You carry it with you. Very common with EMTs, with firemen, with people in the military who have been put in situations that traumatize them. If you are a fireman, you go into a house to save a child, a puppy, or whatever, and your exit is blocked, and now you're trapped, and you're saved, thankfully, because your coworkers were able to get to you. But something like that is traumatizing. Your life might flash before your eyes, and so you now might have a hard time performing your job because your stress level increases every time you attend to a fire, because you keep remembering how you felt when you were trapped in that room.
We actually have mandated debriefings after a bad call. Like a lot of departments actually have them in place now.
And we do that. I work with Cop to Cop over at Rutgers UPHC, and we do crisis management and debriefings constantly because it's very traumatic for when the police respond to a dead child, because a lot of these police officers are family men and they have a really hard time with the trauma of the dead child because they have children of their own. So we do a lot of crisis debriefings with, as I said, fire, EMTs, policemen, military. Military's kind of a forgotten population with PTSD. Not in the respect, they have a lot of help for it because it's a common thing, but they don't have a unit the way fire and EMTs and EMS and all that have. So there's a lot of people that suffer in silence in the military. Is what I meant to say, like forgotten, not they suffer in silence. So nightmares, flashbacks, depression, grief, anxiety, these are totally common responses when we talk about post-traumatic stress disorder. So whether it's like a reoccurring memory of what happened, or it's a very emotional feeling, it's the flashback, it's a psychological distress, and again, it can be a physical reaction. I think you guys have heard of stories like people from the military, because of shootings and whatnot, military shooting in combat, that you could be walking with a friend who was in the military, walking down the street, and a car backfires and they immediately drop to the ground. That's a physical response. That is not something that they planned on doing, and it's not emotional. And it's not thinking. It's just a physical response, because that's what they did at a situation when they were in combat. So PTSD is really is prevalent and difficult to cure per se. So it's all about coping mechanisms. There are people that have chronic stressors, which is different than PTSD. Chronic stressors are lifelong stressors that, let's put it this way, you have been working at your job for, I don't know, 10 years, let's just say, and you have a really jerk face boss. That's a chronic stressor. For 10 years, you've been dealing with this jerk of a boss. It's a stress. Am I right? Dealing with that? So that's a chronic stressor. You can relieve yourself of it if you got another job, but if the money's really good and you actually like what you do, you put up with that stressor. You put up with that boss. I mean, there are people that would say that they got into teaching because they like connecting with the students. This is a stressor. This is a crazy stressor that I'm talking to you through a computer and see, 6 of you out of 23 that are on. There are people that are like, I'm not teaching like this. It's just not happening. Your kids, you chose to have your children. They're a stress. They're a big stress. So it's not always things that are avoidable, especially if you have a kid who has a medical injury, a medical disability, any sort of disability. That's a stressor on top of having kids. Anything like, there might be somebody in this classroom that has asthma. That's a stressor that you have asthma. Any sort of illness, that's a stressor. So stressor comes in all shapes and sizes. A big one that we look at, some of the big stressors, and financial is a really big one. I mean, poverty is really big in the United States. So financially, you are considered in poverty if you make less than $12,000 a year, or for a family of 4, $24,000 a year. That's nothing. Can you imagine living a family of 4 for $24,000 a year? And there are plenty of people that are in it. I mean, it's unbelievable. So 21% of children are raised in a level of poverty. That's a really big number. 21% of children grow up in below poverty level. We're not talking about 3%, 21%. So because of poverty, financial is a stressor. We know that nutrition, you can't eat. It's cheaper to eat the crap off the dollar menu at McDonald's than it is. I mean, it's a lot cheaper to buy a value meal like the whatever's on the dollar menu than to get broccoli. You know what I mean? So their nutrition is down. Their health is down. Violence is up. Education is down. All those things, they don't do as well in school. And you all know nutrition plays a role and all that stuff. So there are major stressors that are connected to money. We all have what are known as daily hassles. okay, which is a level of a stressor. We all have daily hassles. They are minor, but they often occur regularly, and they act as stressors. If you're somebody who likes a really clean house and that the house is messy, that's a daily stressor. Traffic. I mean, when you were driving to the college, or if you were driving to the college, and there is always a backup on Woodbridge Avenue, always a backup on Woodbridge Avenue, and you have to get to class on time, that is a stressor. It is a hassle. When you can't find your car keys or you can't find your cell phone, that is a stressor. So it doesn't have to be really big things. It can be little things, but they are stressors. Let's see. Let's talk about uplifts. So I said coping mechanisms are a way to combat stress. Uplifts are positive uplifts. I'll write that down. Uplifts are positive experiences they have the potential to make you happy, and it is the link between hassles and health. So in other words, they can sort of negate the hassles when you have an uplift. So you're sitting in traffic and you are stressing, and your favorite song comes on the radio and you start like enjoying that song and smiling. All of a sudden, you're not as stressed anymore. So uplifts are the link between hassles and health. Now, your book talks about like 3 types of conflicts. I'm not going to go into that. You'll learn about that with them. So let's talk about your immune system. Your immune system is affected by stress. So if your immune system is affected by stress, that means that you have the propensity of getting sick due to stress. So your white blood cells decrease with stress. Your white blood cells are what fight off illness. So your white blood cells decrease with stress. You've heard about people that have ulcers. Ulcers are a direct cause of stress. Now, they can happen because of eating. If you eat an exorbitant amount of salt, you can get an ulcer, but most ulcers are linked to stress. And so that's when a bacteria in your belly kind of eats a hole away at your stomach. And those are caused by stress. So the less stress, the less chance of getting an ulcer. Cancer is an increased risk with stress. People that are genetically predisposed to something like a cancer, if they're super stressed, they have a higher risk of getting cancer. So there's a link between that. I don't think I even need to tell you, but cardiovascular disease, we talked about fight and flight, right? We talked about the parasympathetic, we talked about the sympathetic being fight or flight, and your body, all the systems of your body are activated, and your parasympathetic system calms it down. If your parasympathetic system doesn't kick in, you are more likely to have a heart attack. So these are all caused by stress, blood pressure, all of that work against your cardiovascular health. So what are some ways to decrease stress? Exercise. Exercise is a proven stress decreaser, coping mechanism. So you might say that alcohol is a stress reliever. Some people feel alcohol is a stress reliever, and it is, but it has to be in moderation. So alcohol can relieve stress, but it has to be in moderation. So what about smoking? Does anybody smoke in this class? Anybody? Nobody? I'm shocked. There's not one person that smokes, whether it's cigarettes or pot. Nobody smokes.
I did, but I stopped once I joined the academy. So
Okay, so Derek, when you smoked, was it a stress reliever?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Amy, you used to smoke. Was it a stress reliever? Amy? Yes, when I was young.
I
Okay.
currently smoke. I'm a smoker.
Okay, so is it a stress reliever?
Yeah.
Okay, so the answer is yes. Smoking is a stress reliever, but it adds a second layer of stress. So yes, it might help you with your daily hassles, but when you smoke, it actually adds a stressor because you have an addiction and a tolerance involved. So you're smoking to decrease your stress, but when you run out of cigarettes, are you stressed?
Yes,
are.
absolutely.
Right? So you've now added the stress to the decreased stressor. So it's kind of a double-edged sword when we talk about smoking as a stress reliever. When we talk about that fight or flight and the thing that that causes you to have that stress, there is a hormone, and it is called cortisol. This is your stress hormone, cortisol. We know what hormones are, right? Hormones are dumped into our bloodstream and change our actions. Remember, we learned about that. So cortisol is your stress hormone. This is what kicks into gear when you go into fight or flight, cortisol. So babies have stress, believe it or not. I know we think of that, why would babies have stress, but babies do have stress. It can happen prematurely or in utero. Babies can be stressed if they're not getting proper nutrition, they're not getting proper oxygen, they're being exposed. Let's say a car accident that causes some trauma to the stomach area. Babies actually do have stress. When a baby is exposed to stress in utero, they're often born premature or low birth weight, and their cognitive development is not the same. So it's lifelong because of that stress in utero. We know that teens can be very stressed. Very often they don't sleep the correct amount. Cortisol kicks in at that time because it's a hormone. So the body is filled with hormones as a teenager. And so their academics change, their behavior changes, and health problems start to occur. They often have school starting earliest for teenagers, right? High school starts first, then middle school, then elementary school, at least in most towns. Is that what you had going on, that you, like the high school started first? Did that happen for the majority of you?
Yeah.
Okay, so there has been tons of studies that say that is the absolute wrong way to do learning for kids. The younger you are, the more attuned you are to learning earlier. So as teenagers going into high school, it is much more efficient for you to go in later than earlier. There have been tons of studies. So going in on that super early time actually creates more stress, which does not create a better learning environment. They did studies even with car accidents. When they had teenagers driving to high school, when they pushed back school by 1 hour. So if school was supposed to start at 7:55 and they put it at 8:55, they decreased car accidents in teens by 70% in a study. 70%, because you're tired and you need more rest in the morning. It's just a fact. So the schools have it all wrong for learning. You guys should be going to school later, not earlier. All right, so let's see. Let's talk about coping a little bit. Coping is how we deal with these challenges. Coping. Let's play a little game now that has to do with coping. All right, so if we were in the classroom, we'd be doing this. We're going to play a game of word. It's called Name That Stress Reliever. That's the name of the game. Name that stress reliever. So I am going to put up a word scramble, and the first person to type the correct answer gets a point. I should keep score because there's always a prize. There's always a prize in Dawn's games because nothing motivates like prize. Normally it's candy, but I think I'll have to send you a Starbucks gift card or something like that. Won't, since we're online. All right, so we will keep score. Okay, so what I'm going to do, so this one will just be a practice round because it's super easy. I'm going to put up chat. I think the best way to do this is for the first person to type the answer in, because by the time you unmute and mute and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to name that stress reliever. This one's easy. This is the practice round. The first person to type the answer gets the point. Practice round. This one doesn't count. Name that stress reliever. Type it in. Nobody? Oh, there it is. Okay. So Amy, Celexa. I've never heard of Celexa. Alexandra got it with exercise. Amy, what's a Celexa? The answer is exercise. Amy did not get. Oh, it's actually a medicine. No. I don't know what Celexa is. But I wonder if that's has got the same letters. No, there's no L. There's no L in exercise. So it can't be that. All right. So this one's 4 points. This one is actually 4 points. And it's going to be name that stress reliever. Oh, who got it first? Hold on. Ryan got it. All right, 1 point for Ryan. The answer was meditation. A lot of you got it, but Ryan got it first. Okay, name this stress reliever. Anyone? Anyone? Name that stress reliever. Nobody yet. Nobody, come on, name that stress reliever. Unscramble this word. Somebody type. Nobody yet. Come on. Do I have to give you a hint? Somebody's got to type fast. Starts with an R. Nope. Ryan, it's not right. Starts with an R. Nope. Isaiah, wrong. Starts with an R. Nobody has this point yet. R-E. R-E. Stress religion. Oh, I just said it. Religion. Religion is a stress reliever. Oh, Alexandra, too late to the game. All right. Name this stress reliever, which could also be a stressor. Oh, my hand's in the way. Sorry. Relationships, Taylor, got it. All right. Name this stress reliever. Name this stress reliever. Yes, Taylor again. That is 2 for Miss Taylor. All right, last one. Name this a stress reliever. Ooh, Isaiah, good for you. Well, Taylor's our winner. Good job, Taylor. I will email you a prize. Good job. Okay. Normally I'd be throwing candy at you, but I can't throw candy at you. So you'll get a prize in the mail, in the email. All right. So we're talking now about coping. Coping, I'll give you the definition, is the cognitive, behavioral, and emotional ability or abilities, cognitive, behavioral, and emotional abilities, because you can use more than one, used to manage the cognitive, behavioral, and emotional abilities used to manage something that is perceived. Used to manage something that is perceived as difficult or challenging. The cognitive, behavioral, and emotional abilities used to manage something that is perceived as difficult or challenging. So, when you're faced with something, when you're faced with a challenge, you do what's known as an appraisal. You do an appraisal, which is an assessment, right? So you do this assessment and you determine if this is going to be challenging or harmful or irrelevant or positive. You know, people can take a specific situation. In this room, if we have a specific situation, everybody might think of it differently based on appraisal. So let's just say I say pop quiz, we're doing a quiz right now. Some of you might see that as a problem and like, oh no, that's stressful for me. And some of you might go, oh good, I get to raise my grade. I'm not doing so great and this will help me raise my grade. So depending, or somebody would be like, I don't care, that's fine. So your appraisal, your assessment of the situation is going to play a role on your coping and your stress level, right? So there are people that use problem focused coping and there are people that use emotion focused coping. If you're problem focused, you deal with the problem head on. You know, there's a problem that it causes stress for you, you deal with that head on, you address it. You know, if you're emotion focused coping, you deal with the emotions surrounding the problem instead of trying to solve it. So that pop quiz, if you're emotion focused, no, let's start with problem focused. Problem focused, you would quickly open your book to the chapter, maybe start trying to read through and see what you might not understand really quickly before the quiz starts, right? That's problem focused. If you're emotion focused, you're going to start to, how do I feel about this? Oh my God, I'm so stressed. I can't believe we're going to have pop quiz today. Okay, I'm not going to cry. Crying would be bad, you know, or, oh, I'm so mad. I can't even think clearly. I'm so mad that we're having a pop quiz. So you have problem focused coping, you have emotion focused coping. Maybe you do both. Your personality plays a role in that. Who you are plays a role in how you cope. You might be the type A personality, which we said cardiac. Remember, that's that high stress person. So that's somebody who's competitive, aggressive, impatient, hostile. That's a type A personality, somebody who's very, very rigid. I'm sure you've met those people in your life where there's like, it's my way or the highway, and there's no even discussing. That's a type A personality. A type B is more somebody that is relaxed and non-aggressive and kind of rolls with the punches. There's other personalities. There's a type D personality, which is kind of a psychological personality. We call it D for distress. That's a worry wart. Somebody who worries about everything and has tension and they also are not healthy because they don't have really good coping mechanisms. I don't know if you have an aunt or a grandmother who is a worry wart. It's not a healthy personality. You're like, take a chill pill, grandma, it'll be fine. You know, they're just constantly worrying. And we call that a type D personality for distress because it's not healthy. So optimism is healthy. Resiliency is healthy. Wellness is healthy. Commitment is healthy. Feeling you have control is healthy. You're all going to have challenges in your lives. It's how you deal with those challenges, which is what the moral of this story is. If you can handle this stuff, then you won't get sick. So going back to our discussion when we took the test, where you took all those numbers down and we were basically a third, and a third with people that were in the high stress area, the middle stress, and the no stress. Even people that scored over 300 doesn't mean that you'll get sick, because if you can deal with the stress, you can cope. It doesn't mean that you will get physically ill. That is the moral of the story, how you deal with it. Now, there's a brand new psychologist, just to end this off, there's a brand new psychology out there, which is a positive thing. It's called positive psychology. They have studied positive emotions and positive character traits, And people that have positive psychology can deal with stressors, even the worst stressors they're able to deal. So if you are a positive person, you will do better with these stressors in life. You will not get physically ill from them. Now, are you going to get physically ill from being exposed to coronavirus? Yes. Positive psychology is not going to change that. It's just there's a lot of studies on the positive outlook. So if there's two people that get coronavirus that have the exact same symptoms and they have the same exact underlying factors and things like that, there's actually proof that the power of positive thinking, you will feel better. There's a book called The Anatomy of an Illness that I read probably 30 years ago. And at the time, it was when they were first studying cancer patients. And so they put one set of cancer patients. At the time, Seinfeld was the show, like the show. And so it was just coming out and it was very funny. And so they had the same exact cancer patients with the same exact treatments. And the people that were exposed to comedies and Seinfeld and those type of shows actually did better in treatment than other people. So the power of positive thinking actually is something that can affect your health. And this is the theme throughout our chapter is that psychology affects physiology, right? We've said that almost in every chapter, that how you are mentally affects you physically. Here's the big old chapter on it. So power of positive thinking. We talk about mindfulness. We talk about wellness. These are things that will help you stay healthy. Okay, that is your chapter. Let's go over what is going to be due for you this week. Share my screen. All right. Let me minimize this. Oops, I stopped sharing. Sorry. Let me pull up. Let me minimize you for a second. Move you. Let me minimize that. Okay. Let us share screen. Okay. So what's in it this week? We're going to week 8. Week 8 is stress, lifestyle, and health. So what you have due are a study plan, a quiz, and an assignment. Now, this assignment is kind of long-standing, but since it's Halloween and it's my favorite holiday of all time, I am not going to ask you to do your homework on Halloween. So if you decide to do either 1 or 2, we'll go through it. Oops, Isaiah left and he's coming back. There's 3 parts, okay? And we're going to go over each part so you understand it. You are picking 1 part to do this assignment, okay? So there's 3 ones you can choose from. The first one, keep a log of all your activities for 1 week. Okay, so you're going to start from today through Friday. You don't have to do Saturday, but it's due by Saturday. But if you're done by Friday, just put it in on Friday. So what you're going to do is you're going to write things in 3 different 3 different categories. So you're going to do commitments, upkeep, and electives. Okay, so whatever you're doing during the day from today till Friday, you're going to keep a log of things that are commitments, things you have to do. Upkeep are things that you do because they're healthy or you should be doing it, or electives, which are things you choose to do. Once you have kept a log, then you're going to look at that log from Tuesday to Friday and decide which things were time wasters. Okay. So things that you wasted time doing. And then you're going to make a list of strategies that will help you get rid of time wasters and manage your time better. So your log has to be comprehensive. This is a 40-point assignment. So if you're doing this, just make sure you do all the parts. The first part is the list of commitments, upkeep, and elective. After you log everything, you're deciding what are commitments, what are upkeep, and what are electives. Then you're going to make a list of your time wasters. Then you're going to make a list of your strategies, if you choose to do that one. If you don't, you can do the second one. The second one is another list. And again, that list will be Tuesday through Friday. And on that, you're going to make a list each day and check off something that you've accomplished. So you're going to start the day with a list of things you want to accomplish. You're going to list the things you did for the day. And then you're going to check off things that were accomplishments that you did. So in other words, you wrote things you were going to do for the day. You're actually looking at that list and saying, oh, I accomplished that. Then you got to write a short summary. It's only 25 to 50 words talking about priorities and time management. So far we've done two activities that involve logging things for the day. The third, if you choose to do that one, and remember, you're choosing one, not all three, one. If you choose to do the third part and not the first and the second, you have to read through the chapter, then find another resource, okay? You have to find another resource that is not our book. And you have to write a summary about helping manage stress. It has to be 200 words long, and you have to include a reference to the other article that you found. Questions. 40 points. Questions about this? Nobody has any questions. So everybody understands exactly what you have to do.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Can you explain the first one, please?
The first one is a list of everything that you do. You log everything that you do from Tuesday to Friday, and then you write whether they are commitments, which means something that you have to do. Upkeep is something that you probably should be doing, or elective, which is something you choose to do. After you do that list or that log, then you make a separate list of time wasters, things you wasted time, and things that are strategies. Your third list are strategies that help you manage your time better. So for the first part, you're handing in a comprehensive log. For the second part, you are handing in a list of things you wanted to accomplish and what you checked off as accomplished, and a summary about priorities and time management. And the third part, you would hand in a 200-page essay, including strategies from your textbook and another resource that you used about helping stress.
You say 200 words, right?
200. It's in the, this is your assignment. You're see what I'm got on the screen right now is actually what you see in your chapter 8 assignment. This isn't anything that I made up. This is what's published for you.
Yeah.
Any other questions about this? I don't want to hear I don't know what I'm doing because I've explained it now. So this is your time to ask the questions about it.
For the second assignment, how many accomplishments do you want us to have? Or
Well, it says make a list of things you want to accomplish for the day. Now, if you are Amy, who has children, she might have a laundry list of things that she has to do for the day because she's got to do remote learning with each child, plus maybe her own schooling, plus feeding them, plus doing laundry, plus cleaning up after the dog, plus. Whereas one of you guys might have just your own things to accomplish. You know, you might not have that much responsibility as somebody like Amy. So I can't say what's right or wrong because it depends on what you need to accomplish each day. Don't give me one. That's not going to be acceptable. You should be able to accomplish more than one thing. Questions? So this is due on Saturday per usual, but since Halloween is on Saturday, I won't have you do these logs till Saturday. I'll have you end on Friday so that you can enjoy my favorite holiday. Does anybody have any other questions about anything we did today? Taylor being the winner, whoop whoop, in our game. Now I know we can do some more games, so I will try to, oh my goodness, Amy started her list to 3 a.m. Amy, I feel you. You can take some of those out. It will be, I don't have enough time to read all of your list, Amy. Of course you're booked. You have children. It's crazy. All right. Questions? If not, we out. Nothing more? All right. Everybody have an awesome Halloween, my favorite. Woo! Have a good one.
bye, Professor.
Happy Halloween.
Happy
Have a
Halloween.
happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Wait, Professor,
Yes.
does it matter how we do it? Like, could we put like Tuesday and then put achievement bullet points and then write it out?
Say that one more time.
Can I do like, okay, so for the assignment number 1?
Number 1. Okay.
Can I put like, let's say today Tuesday, and then under put like bullet points of like achievements and then...
Yes. So for today, for Tuesday, let's just say the first one is that, you know, you go to class. Then let's just say you decide to do the first part of the chapter, like the study plan, you know, like you're listing that. Then you have to do some work, or you have to clean your house, or you do any of those things. So you start first by listing all the stuff that you're doing for the day. Then you go back and you write down whether it's a commitment, an upkeep, or an elective. Then you look back. I would do it on the Friday and look back at what's a time waster and what strategies you can do.
Okay.
So you don't have to do it daily. You can do it, you know, the one time.
Okay, and that's for number 1, right?
That's for number 1.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. All right, guys, we ready? We out?
Professor, I want to ask you something.
Yes.
But you have to go by the chapter or so, right? The chapter 8.
I'm not understanding your question.
Okay, because for the last assignment, okay, I used the perception and sensation, but that I never saw the first 3 words that was influence, cultural influence,
Yeah.
perception and
But you
sensation.
Okay, Evelyn, you have to read what the discussion was about. You did not read what you were supposed to write about. You just wrote about perception and sensation. That's not what the assignment was.
No, I know, because when I open Syntex, everything is like you have to navigate. So I just saw like first step, second, like that, and sensation. I know. And then when I found out was when I how you say, like when I submit, I was like, what is going on? Like everybody's talking about this. Then I answered about that, but I was like confused because I never saw the first thing that it says cultural influence and
Right.
sensation. Yeah, but I was like, professor say this doesn't make sense because I just yeah, but what's that? Like I never like saw the first 3 lines, like.
Right.
Well,
So-
then now I have to for this one, like you say the chapter 8. So I have to go a little bit by that also, like the stress, stuff like that.
Well, yeah, but I'm a little concerned that you're not able to read or see it correctly. You should have adaptive equipment to make it as easy as somebody who has full sight. That's what adaptive equipment is about. So I'm not sure why you're not seeing the assignments, Holly.
I have Zoom text, but the thing is that when you open in Zoom text, you have to navigating, like it has to go like, you see like one word in your monitor, in your screen, just, it's very like, then I have to go very small, which I can see that, like a regular print. So I used to do that in like learning center.
Right.
And it was easy for me because somebody was, like with me
Right.
in the monitor, but here I'm doing by myself. But,
No, but you shouldn't have to. You should, they can still help you. You can do it like over Zoom. So you should still check into the Learning Center. And secondly, what about having it auditorily read to you?
who I have to contact for that? Like they read the chapter for me.
So I thought that there's a program, I'm pretty sure there's a program on the computer that you can download that will read it to you. You know what? The cat steps on my laptop on a constant basis and it presses on this thing that reads my screen. You need to look into that. There is a program in your computer that you can like F8 and it will read you what's on your screen.
Yeah, I will. I'm gonna try to contact Jason and then to see, because he told me about seeing him, but then I'm gonna contact them because it's really like I'm trying to do everything by myself.
No, there's no reason for that. You should 100% have adaptations. There's no reason. Your computer should be reading the book for you out loud so that you can take your own notes and do whatever you need to do. And then you wouldn't be missing what the discussion post is about. If it read it to you, you would know what it's about.
Yeah. That was like, but it's okay. Now I'm gonna be more like straight with this one.
Okay, well, you're on the path, and I did discuss Oh, I might not have pulled up the last one because I had internet problems, but I usually go over the assignments so you know what's going on.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, have a good one. Happy Halloween.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.